Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us today for this 2024 Awardee Welcome Session, and a huge congratulations on receiving your SMART Award. My name is Jessica Nix. I am the Scholar Coordinator Team Lead, and I'll be the host for your session today. Joining me are my fellow Scholar Coordinators who will be assisting with the question and answers located down at the bottom. And just keep in mind for today's presentation, this is going to be geared towards your SMART Award, important upcoming tasks, deadlines, and really to provide guidance on how to have a successful onboarding experience. I know you may have some questions that are more so related to what happens when you become a scholar. We'll touch base on a few of those things. However, most of that is going to be covered during the in-person orientation. So with that note, we'll go ahead and get started. Few administrative notes before we jump actually into the presentation. All participants will be muted upon entry. If you do have questions, please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. The SCs will be answering those as we go, and we'll also have a session at the end to verbally answer some of those questions. As a reminder, the session will be recorded, and we will provide a copy of this presentation deck and the recording to you at a later date. If you do end up dropping from Zoom, please dial back in. We'll continue to admit you as you kind of come back into the waiting room. And other than that, let's go ahead and get started. The Science, Mathematics, and Research for Transformation Scholarship for Service program is funded by the Department of Defense and is a combined educational and workforce development opportunity for STEM students. Our mission is to recruit, educate, and employ and foster the future of DoD civilian STEM workforce through scholarships and lasting partnerships with academic institutions, STEM education ecosystems, and DoD laboratories and agencies. Our vision is to develop pathways for a diverse, technically proficient, and innovative talent pool to maintain the technological edge of a DoD workforce ready to meet the U.S. national security needs. The SMART program is comprised of 4 different phases. Phase 0, which is where you all currently are, is engagement and onboarding. During this phase, you'll be referred to as an awardee, and you'll stay in phase 0 all the way up until the 31st of July. Phase 1 will start on the 1st of August, and that is when you'll transition into being a phase 1 SMART Scholar. During phase 1, this will be your degree pursuit. So you'll stay in phase 1 all the way up until you've completed your degree and have transitioned into employment with your sponsoring facility. Phase 2 starts the first day of full-time employment with your sponsoring facility and ends on the date in which your service commitment has been fulfilled. Phase 3, which is our monitoring phase, starts after you've completed your service commitment, where you're welcome to stay within DoD or explore external opportunities. While you're in the SMART program, you do have a huge resource of personnel here that are meant to support you, guide you, and help you through the different phases of the program. While you're in phase 0 and phase 1, your main point of contact is going to be your Scholar Coordinator. You can contact your Scholar Coordinator, or what we call an SC, for any program-related inquiries, concerns, updates on your degree pursuit, as well as your progress. And really, if you're unsure of who you should contact for certain items, your Scholar Coordinator is always the best choice. We could provide you guidance from there, point you in a different direction. However, just make sure you email us or call us, and we can kind of help you from there. You can contact your Scholar Coordinator using the email address smartscholar@smartscholarship.org. Just be sure that when you do email, you include your component, which will be Army, Navy, Air Force, additional DoD, your last name, and then a brief subject of what your email is about. We do utilize a shared inbox, so it just helps us really get to your email and respond to it much faster. As I had mentioned earlier, there is a phase 2 and a service commitment. And that is really where your next point of contact comes in handy. However, they work really close with us while you're in phase one, and that is your component liaison. Your component liaison is going to be your main point of contact while you're in phase two and phase three. They provide guidance for SF related inquiries and concerns, and they assist with that transition into phase two as well as into phase three. Your component liaison works directly with your sponsoring facilities. So again, if you do have questions, come to your SC, and then we will work with the component liaison team to get the answers to your questions. Now, if at any time during the phases of the SMART program, you have any technical or IT related issues, we do have a SMART technical help desk or an IT team. If you have to get your password reset, you're having issues, we do have a get technical help button on the login screen, and then it's also visible throughout each of your portals. So they'll be your first point of contact if you're running into any technical issues. In addition to your SMART program points of contacts, you also have a point of contact at your sponsoring facility. Your SFPOC, which is what we tend to refer to them as, coordinates the execution of SMART at your sponsoring facility. You can find your SFPOC contact information in two locations. One is going to be on your My SMART award page, right underneath documents for awardee where this blue arrow is pointing up, and also on your award letter. You'll contact your SFPOC for site visit dates, locations, details if you are a recruitment scholar, for internship dates, and that's more so in the future, but they'll be your contact for that as well. If you have foreign travel plans, please be sure to update them as they may need to report it to security to ensure there's no issues with clearance, or have you submit additional documentation. So always good to keep them in the loop. On that note, the facilities handle your clearances, so questions relating to clearance will be directed to your SFPOC, and your SFPOC is going to be heavily involved on your hiring. So any updates and details will come from them. If you do run into questions that are related to the facility, go ahead and send it over to your SFPOC, and they will get you some responses. Just keep in mind right now with awardees, there are quite a few of you at each facility who are contacting your SFPOC. So if there's a little bit of a delay in their response, just kind of keep that in mind, and they will get you a response. Your SFPOC is going to be someone that you work very, very close with over your time in the program. So just be sure that you develop a clearly articulated and a mutual agreeable communication relationship with them. You want to make sure that you are comfortable discussing and talking through things with them. Okay. So as mentioned before, I know I had mentioned retention and recruitment. So we'll start with recruitment. A recruitment scholar is someone who is not a civilian DoD employee at time of award. We do provide the following items for recruitment scholars. So you will receive an annual stipend, which is paid out on the third Friday of each month. And this will start when you become an official phase one scholar in August. These stipends are paid out through direct deposit, and you can find the amount for your stipend on your SMART service agreement. These stipends are determined based off your degree level. So if you do have questions about that, please reach out to your scholar coordinator. In terms of an annual miscellaneous allowance and health insurance allowance, both of these are also included on your service agreement and will be paid out the third Friday of August along with your first stipend. Full tuition is provided directly to your academic institution. More instructions on how that happens will be covered on your onboarding call and during orientation. But just keep in mind, we will only cover tuition and mandatory educational fees. This does not include parking, meal plans, housing. Those are things that we do not provide funding for. In addition to all of the funding that we do provide you on your pursuit, we do also guarantee employment with your sponsoring facility upon degree completion, as well as a summer internship at your sponsoring facility each time that your award crosses over a summer term. Retention scholars are someone who is employed full-time as a civilian DoD employee at time of award. We do provide annual stipends. However, these are provided directly to the sponsoring facility. And if you do have questions about these, please discuss this with your financial POC or your SFPOC. We do provide an annual miscellaneous allowance directly to our retention scholars, and this will be provided the third Friday in August via direct deposit. We also provide retention travel funding, and this is for travel to and from school. After August 1st, you can submit a request for these funds, and that is something that will also be covered on your onboarding call and during in-person orientation. And along the lines of the recruitment scholars, we do provide the full tuition for tuition and mandatory educational fees. And again, it does not cover housing, meal plans, and things like that through your university. All right, now to the fun stuff. I'm sure a few of you have already taken this step. How to accept your award. So what you will need to do is log into the awardee portal. You will click the My Smart Award page. You will review your SMART service agreement and your SMART award letter. And please, I cannot stress this enough, please read it over very carefully. Once you've done that, you will click Accept Award. Please keep in mind that if you skip this step and you go to My Dashboard, nothing will appear there. And that's because you do have to accept the award before tasks and things start to populate. Our recruitment awardees will have the opportunity to reaffirm their award acceptance on their site visit report. So if you accept your award, you do your site visit, and you really are not sure if it's a good fit, if you do decide that this isn't the program for you, you do have an opportunity on your site visit report to say, thank you, but no. And on that note, after this initial acceptance where you push the accept award, all awardees do have the opportunity to decline their award at any time between now and the 31st of July. As part of your acceptance, we do require that you submit a number of tasks to us within 14 days of receiving your SMART award. Over here on the left-hand side is a list of those awardee tasks. These tasks will be shown on the My Awardee dashboard. And keep in mind, they are different for recruitment and retention. So the tasks that are bolded on the left are the tasks that are required for our retention awardees. Recruitment awardees are responsible for all 1 through 13. If you have questions about these tasks, please reach out to your scholar coordinator and we can go ahead and provide you with some guidance. What happens if my award information has changed? We understand it's been a long time since you all filled out your application. Life happens, things change, and that's perfectly fine. Just keep in mind that award adjustments are an option. However, they do have to go through a review process. You can submit an award adjustment for the following reasons. So if you need to change your name, your academic institution, your degree level, field of study, graduation date, just keep in mind that your component liaison is going to be running this by your sponsoring facility to ensure that they can support that award. After you submit your award adjustment, it's possible that more information may be needed for us to accurately review your request. So just keep an eye out on your inbox. You may receive some emails. And then after your award adjustment has been processed, you will receive a notification via email. Just keep in mind that if you do submit an award adjustment, please hold off on submitting your service agreement or your educational work plan, since we do need to update information if your award adjustment is approved. Don't worry if you've already submitted those items. We will provide a regenerated version after your award adjustment is approved. So just if you happen to see a service agreement in your to-do kind of table, that would be why. It's because information has changed and we need you to go back and re-review and sign. Now, I do want to emphasize here that in terms of award adjustments, sponsoring facility change requests are not an option. So just keep that in mind. And unfortunately, we do not reassign awardees. Forgot to let you know where the award adjustment button is. My apologies. So on my Smart Award page, there is a button here where the arrow is where you can submit an award adjustment. The button is also on your My Awardee dashboard. Okay, so in terms of our awardee tasks, we did provide a bit of guidance just to kind of make it a bit easier as you're going through that list of tasks. For your order official transcript task, we do require this task to be completed by the 15th of April. And really what this task is for is to notify us about your spring 2024 enrollment status. If you're enrolled in spring 2024, please indicate that on the transcript task and hold off on submitting your official transcript to us or submitting that order until all of your spring 2024 grades have finalized. We just need to be sure that we receive your transcript before the 1st of July. Electronic transcripts are by far the preferred method. However, if you do need to mail a transcript to us, the address is on the task and it's also here on the screen. If you have questions about the transcript task, please reach out to your scholar coordinator and they will provide you guidance. Orientation, registration, and orientation travel expense tasks. The orientation registration task and the travel expense request task are required to be completed by the 15th of April, but keep in mind you must complete the orientation registration before you can complete the orientation travel expense task. So on your portal, you will not see the orientation travel expense task until you have confirmed that you have registered and done the steps required as part of the registration task. Once you've done that, your orientation travel expense task will become visible. For your site visit request task, you'll be required to reach out to your sponsoring facility point of contact to obtain your site visit dates. Once you've secured your site visit dates, please proceed with submitting that site visit request task in your portal before the 15th of April. If you do run into difficulties getting a response from your SFPOC to obtain those dates, please let your scholar coordinator know. We'll make note of it and we'll work with the component liaison to see what we can do to kind of get those dates over to you. Moral of the story, if you run into any issues or have questions, please reach out to your scholar coordinator. The educational work plan task is one of the tasks that's going to likely take the longest for you to complete. There's a few notes here, as well as an FAQ that your scholar coordinators have provided to you. Ultimately, if you do have questions while completing this task, reach out to your scholar coordinator, and I will kind of go through a few of these notes here, as these tend to be majority of the most frequently asked questions. If you do not have an academic advisor assigned, please input to be determined in the advisor name section. An email address will be required, but please include a general advising email associating with your advising department at your academic institution. I highly recommend using your most recent transcript as well as an academic course plan to complete your educational work plan. If you can meet with your advisor between now and the 15th of April, I highly recommend it to ensure that you understand your course plan and it's reflecting accurately in your EWP. All of these start and end dates for each term in the course listing section of the EWP do have to match. So for example, for fall 2024, I need to make sure that for my 5 courses I'm taking for that semester, each one starts on August 15th. And we need to have the same end date for those as well. So if you're having difficulty narrowing down the start and end dates, go to your academic institution's website. They should have an academic calendar for you that shows start and end dates of future terms. If it's so far in the future, they do not have a calendar that includes those terms, please use the dates from the previous academic calendar system and just provide estimated start and end date for each term, but just make sure that they match for the courses associated with that specific term. And we do understand that the timeline of course completion and when you complete each course will change over the year. Just be sure to keep a log of those changes, and you'll have an opportunity to update SMART with this new plan in June of next year when you submit a phase 1 annual report. So we understand things change. Just be sure to keep note of it. If you do have additional questions, please review that FAQ that your scholar coordinators have provided to you via email. If you would like another copy of that, reach out to your scholar coordinator. And if you have any other questions that are not included on this slide or the FAQ, please reach out to your SC. In-person orientation is going to be required for all awardees. The in-person orientation is going to provide you with the opportunity to orient yourself with the SMART program and to create meaningful connections with your fellow awardees. It is a 2-day event that will include presentations, meet and greet sessions, and other program-related activities. So please keep that in mind when submitting your orientation registration and your orientation travel request. All of our awardees are required to submit those 2 tasks and are required to be present in July for in-person orientation. We will cover the cost of hotel accommodations for all awardees. So a quick note here, to reserve your room as part of the registration task, you will be required to input a credit card. Please keep in mind that your credit card is not going to be charged at this time. It doesn't get charged until you check in, and SMART will be providing funding to all awardees for in-person orientation. The amount of funding is going to depend on a few different factors, and we're not going to be able to give you the exact amount until we have your orientation travel request in our hands and processed. And we will provide you with an approved version of it with the exact amount of funding that will be provided to you. The funding will also include a per diem, essentially, for your food for orientation. For more information about the register for orientation, about the in-person orientation, please access the register for orientation task. That page does include an FAQ, and if you scroll down, it does include an agenda for the 2-day event. If you're unable to attend orientation, please contact your scholar coordinator as soon as possible. Okay, so we're going to go through an awardee timeline here. A few of these things we've already touched base on, but between now and this should be April 14th, my apologies. Between now and April 14th, awardees will be accepting their award, and they will be completing all of the tasks on the awardee dashboard. Between the 15th of April through June 21st, awardees are going to be completing their site visit if they are recruitment, and ordering their official transcripts to be provided to SMART. Between June 22nd and July 15th, awardees will participate in an onboarding call with their scholar coordinator. And just keep in mind, I know everyone's very eager to have those calls, but your scholar coordinator will be the one to initiate the scheduling of that call. We'll give you a few dates to choose from. We want to make sure it works for you, but just keep in mind your scholar coordinator will reach out to schedule. And then on July 16th and 17th, we have our in-person orientation in which all awardees are required to attend. And after that, the 31st of July, 1st of August rolls around and you officially transition into a phase 1 SMART Scholar. So for our recruitment awardees, we do have questions about site visits that do come up. There is guidance on the task for the site visit request task, but just keep in mind that all SMART sponsoring facilities are prepared to host an in-person site visit for 2024. The site visit request must be submitted through the site visit request task via your awardee portal, and you are required to attend your site visit by the 21st of June at your sponsoring facility. You may be eligible for site visit travel allotments or travel funds. However, it's kind of like the orientation where we do need to have that request in hand so we can review it in order to provide you the amount of funding that you may be eligible for. You'll receive this right after your request has been reviewed. So the sooner you can get this request to us, the sooner we could process it and get you all, one, the funding if you're eligible for it, and two, your approved site visit request. After your site visit has been completed, you have 5 days to complete a site visit report. I had mentioned this a bit earlier, but on that site visit report, recruitment awardees will have the opportunity to reaffirm their award. So at that point, you'll say, yes, I want to proceed, or no, it's just not a good fit. So please keep that in mind while you're going through your site visit. Okay, and now onto security clearance. Your security clearance is going to be processed and handled by your sponsoring facility. However, we do have this here just to give you a bit of an overview of the process. So the investigators apply the whole person concept to consider the nature, extent, seriousness, frequency, recency, motivation, etc., of an individual's conduct. They will look at your social media as part of the background investigation. So just keep that in mind. This is a DoD program, and social media is out there. So keep that in mind when you're sharing things. And we do pertain to federal law. So in terms of marijuana, it's not federally legal. So that is something I would very much stay away from. However, if you do have questions about the security clearance, please review this link at the bottom here. It's going to be SEED 4 and 5, which is provided by the Director of National Intelligence for Security Executive Agent Directives. If you have questions that are not answered at this link, please reach out to your SFPOC, and they may be able to provide you a bit more guidance. Over here on the left-hand side are just a few things that they are going to include as part of the background investigation. And kind of to follow up that information, our scholars are required to obtain and maintain a security clearance prior to the start of their summer internship and service commitment. So the Office of Personnel Management requires all candidates offered positions of employment at U.S. government agencies or departments to complete their questionnaire for national security positions. This is something that is likely going to be requested by your SFPOC. And if you do have questions about how to complete this document, under program resources in your awardee portal, there is a SF86 and EQUIP guidance document that you can refer to as needed, and also reach back out to your SFPOC as they'll probably have the most accurate information as it pertains to their organization. All right, and that was all we have for the actual presentation portion of it. So I think right now we can go ahead and jump into the Q&A that we have here. Let's see. Where do I stay during my site visit? And let me go ahead and close the, okay. So where you will stay during your site visit is going to be dependent upon your sponsoring facility. I would highly recommend reaching out to your SFPOC for that information. They're at the facility, they know the area, they have awardees and scholars come for internships and site visits each year, so they'll be able to point you in a direction of, this is a great place to stay, here's this place. They might even have contacts for those locations. So definitely reach out to your SFPOC for recommendations for accommodations, but keep in mind that you're going to be the one who needs to book your travel and accommodations. Your facility isn't going to book it, and this needs to be something that's handled by the awardee or scholar directly. In terms of site visit funding, if you are eligible, we will provide those funds to you through direct deposit. Okay, and I think I covered this question, but I'll cover it for the group again. What determines the amount of stipends we receive? So your stipend rate is determined by your degree level, and stipends will start in August 2024, and will will be paid out on the third Friday of each month. If you're not sure the stipend amount that you will receive, please refer to your service agreement. We also have this information in the Scholar Handbook. So if you haven't looked at it yet, please read your handbook. It's very important. Okay, let's see here. What happens if I don't receive the dates for my site visit within the 14-day requirement? In those situations, please contact your Scholar coordinator. We'll make note of it and we'll work with your component liaison to see what we can do. How do I know what the full-time status requirement is? So your full-time status requirement is going to be determined by your academic institution, and it varies by degree level. So if you're an undergrad, it's likely 12 credit hours. However, each school might be a little different. So definitely look at your academic institution's website, talk with your advisor, as it does kind of vary from school to school. How do travel funds for orientation work for current DoD employees? The process will be the same. We will be providing funds via direct deposit. So make sure you get that direct deposit task in. We will do a penny test on your bank account to make sure it's the right one. And once we have that, we will go ahead and process your request and provide funds. How can I determine the expected salary after graduation? Okay, so this is kind of going more into scholar territory. However, since everyone who are recruitment are going to be doing site visits coming up here soon, just be sure to discuss this with your SFPOC. They may be able to provide you a range. However, the exact amount is likely not going to be available until we get closer to your hire date. And keep in mind that you are going to meet supervisors, coworkers, mentors during your site visits and then also your future internships. But those individuals do not dictate salary. So just be sure that if you are talking salary and monies of any kind, that you are talking with your SFPOC or your HR representative. Okay. And there's a few more questions about average salary for students pursuing bachelor's degrees. Again, that would be something to talk with your facility about. Each facility is a bit different. Do we have any influence on the job we're offered after phase 1? Again, something you'll have to talk over with your SFPOC. An online student doesn't have a school ID or a student ID. What happens if I don't have an ID to submit with the student ID task? That's okay. We just would like, if you do have one, to provide it to us because it makes paying your tuition so much easier. If you do not have one, I believe there is an option on that task to say I do not have one at this time, and you can go ahead and submit. In terms of internships, there's a few questions about internships when they start. So they will not start until next summer. So you're not doing a SMART internship this summer. This summer is solely for awardee onboarding, in-person orientation, and site visits. Is a student ID a university ID? Yes. So it'll be the identification number in which your school provides to you to show who you are, if that makes sense. Okay, let's see. Let me check this other screen here, see what kind of questions we have coming through. Okay. Is there a relocation benefit? Again, more scholar related question and transition into phase 2, but something you'll need to discuss with your SFPOC. Is there a chat to get in contact with other awardees? Interesting. So we do have the unofficial forum. I believe there is a Discord as well. They aren't sanctioned by SMART, so I don't have the links for you, but I think a quick Google search might point you in that direction. But keep in mind that in-person orientation, you'll get to see all of your lovely fellow awardees all together, so you'll get to meet them face to face there as well. Let's see. I already have a clearance. Will I be able to get a new one, or how does it cover? That would be a question for your sponsoring facility, since they'll handle your clearances on that end. And will this recording be uploaded for us? So we will provide this to you via email. We'll have to, you know, download it, snip it a little bit, upload it to YouTube, and then we will send you a link and send you a copy of this presentation as well, so you have all the notes. How does the commitment period work? So for every year that you are awarded a SMART award, you essentially, it's a 1-for-1. You owe that as part of your service commitment. So if you're pursuing your bachelor's degree, you're awarded a 3-year award. You'll owe 3 years after you've completed your degree. So you'll work for 3 years at your sponsoring facility. And then back to what's the required maximum credits we need to take per semester. Again, this is going to go back to the requirements of your academic institution and what's required to be full-time status there. So definitely check their website, contact your advisor, and we'll go from there. How long does the award adjustment process normally take? We try to get them through the process as quick as possible, but keep in mind that you were selected for an award based off a very specific set of information that was on your application. So if something changes, it really depends what's being changed. If it's a major change, it's probably going to take a much longer, or a bit longer, to get that through, because we do have to talk with your facilities to ensure that this is something that they can support. You're ultimately being awarded, and then you're going to be future employees, so they need to make sure that everything is in line. So depending on the change, it might take a little longer than others, and it also depends on your facility and the review process. So I'm sorry, that's not a very clear answer for you, but that's essentially what happens behind the scenes. Let's see here. Is tuition deducted from the annual stipend? No, they are two separate. Your stipend is going to go directly to you, and your tuition is going to go directly to your academic institution. On your service agreement, there is a section that includes the funding that will be provided to you. So your stipend, health insurance allowance if you're recruitment, and miscellaneous allowance if you're recruitment and retention. And then down at the bottom, it includes that full tuition and educational fees will be provided, and it should show your school down at the bottom. If you're going to a different school, you'll need to submit an award adjustment, because we are going to essentially have it on record that this is your school, and we will not accept invoices from other schools that don't match your documents. So something to kind of keep in mind there. Okay. Do we need to keep receipts for the miscellaneous or the health insurance allowances? No, you do not. We will provide those funds to you every year, and it's at your discretion how those are utilized. So you don't need to submit receipts to us. You don't need to submit any tracking on how those funds are used. It's at your discretion. Okay. Let's see what else we have here. I know the SCs are working away, getting a lot of those questions done. Yep, so we're good there. And would I be able to continue my graduate assistantship if I am a SMART scholar? It's going to If it's a position through your academic institution that you're able to pursue while also completing your degree, this shouldn't be an issue. We do have a section about outside employment in our 2024 Smart Scholar Handbook, so please read through that. Make sure there's no conflicts. It sounds like there isn't. It sounds pretty straightforward. But just refer to the handbook if you guys have questions. There's a ton of really good information on there. And we use the handbook all day long. So a lot of policies, things you can do, things you shouldn't do, things that are outside of policy are clearly detailed in that handbook. So please make that your first reference. And then if you have questions, please reach out to us. Okay, are major specific fees such as engineering program fees covered by tuition payments? If it's wrapped in with your tuition and it is something required for your program and kind of falls under educational fees, yes, we will cover it. Okay. And how does tuition work when I'm in phase 1 of the program? Um, so we will provide tuition for standard academic terms for 1 year at a time. So, and I mean that in the sense that after August 1st, you'll receive what's called a sponsor letter that's going to be in your Scholar portal. And you'll need to download that letter, provide it to your academic institution, and it states that for that program year, we are going to provide tuition and funding for your standard academic terms. So fall, winter, spring. This does not cover summer. So if you do need to enroll in summer coursework, you will have to submit an additional request. And that is something that will be discussed a bit further on your onboarding call with your Scholar coordinator. So it's just something you will have to request if you do require additional summer enrollment to take a course or yeah. If I have to change my academic institution, how does this affect my onboarding tasks and deadlines? So with that, please be sure you submit your award adjustment as soon as possible. And you will not be required to submit that service agreement and EWP until that award adjustment has been processed. All other awardee tasks don't include your academic institution on there, so you can actually still work on those while we're waiting for your award adjustment to be processed. So site visit requests, orientation registration, orientation travel requests, those are all ones that you can definitely work on. There are a few tax questions in here. So in terms of tax, it's best to always consult a tax professional. If you have something that's really specific or need tax advice, just keep in mind that the SMART program, we're not tax professionals. We cannot provide you with recommendations or guidance when it comes to taxes, but we do have a section in the handbook that lists out Scholar tax responsibilities. At the end of each year, you will receive a 1099 miscellaneous, which is what you'll utilize for your taxes. Okay. Is it possible to fly to the in-person orientation from one location and return to a different location? I don't see why not. Um, you're going to be the one who books your travel. We are going to provide you with funding for orientation, and we're going to look at the distance. That's going to be a main factor is how far do you have to travel when we're reviewing your request among other things. So just keep that in mind. And I think that's the good guidance for that one. Okay. And I have submitted an award adjustment requesting a change in my major. I have not heard from my Scholar coordinator when I first submitted it. what do I do? Essentially is that question. So it's been 3 days. And as I had mentioned previously, these award adjustments do have to go through a review process. We have to talk with your facility, ensure that they are in support, and it also goes up to the SMART program office for final approval, denial. And again, more information may be needed. It doesn't seem like it in this case, but just keep in mind that awards were just announced, and we do have quite a few other awardees who are also requesting changes. So it might just take a little bit. If you do have further questions about your award adjustment, please reach out to your scholar coordinator. We'll do our best. But again, if it's going through this review process, there are some things that just need to be done before we can provide you additional guidance. Okay. Can a family member be invited to the well, in-person orientation? So we will not provide funding for an additional member, and they cannot attend the actual in-person orientation events. If they happen to be there at the same time you're there and you guys see each other outside, I mean, nothing we can do about that, but we're not going to provide travel funding for them. They can't join the events. You are going to be required to be at those events. The only exception to that is if you are under the age of 18 at time of orientation. In that event, we will provide funding for one parent or legal guardian to attend orientation with you. Okay. What is the recruitment internship support payment rate that's listed on the service agreement? So as I mentioned previously, your internships will not start until next summer. But with that, it's kind of like your site visit. So you'll have to submit an internship request to us. We're going to take a look at it, review it, and then determine eligibility for internship support payments. The amount that is on your service agreement is the potential amount that you could receive. However, there's a few different factors that we look at when determining that amount. So be sure to check in your handbook. We do have a section on internship funding that kind of goes through all this information. And then if you have anything further, reach out to your scholar coordinator. And yes, orientation. So the question is orientation at the hotel that's listed, or is it at a different location? It's going to be at that hotel in Crystal City. When explaining an award adjustment, is it best to give a short and simple statement preferred, or is it better to give as much information as possible? I guess it depends how you're writing it. If you can wrap up your request in that's short and simple, but includes, like, kind of think about potential questions that your employer or I don't know, someone outside might ask when you're requesting to make such a change. If you can answer those questions short and sweet, you should be good to go. However, if more information is needed, your component liaison will reach out to you. Okay, so if there's no internship, do awardees get paid for this summer at all, or does payment begin when we start our first internship? Okay, so that one's a little, I'm gonna just read part of it because the other half kind of goes into a different subject. So in terms of internships, again, not going to start till next year. You'll determine how much funding you're eligible for after you submit your internship request and it gets processed and approved. Don't worry, when you become a scholar, we'll give you timelines for everything. When things are due, we'll give you a heads up on it. We'll give you some guidance. And your scholar coordinators will be right there with you. So if you have questions, you'll go to them. And then if you are a 1-year recruitment awardee, so that means that you'll be graduating, I don't know, spring of next year, and your award does not cross over a summer period, you are not required to complete an internship. So with that, we wouldn't provide funding. At that point, once you've completed your SMART funded degree, we will work on your hiring with your sponsoring facility and your component liaison to get you into phase 2. Ooh, that's a good question. Can award adjustments be made while in phase 1? We call them something different because it's a very different process. But yes, changes can be requested. However, it does have to go through a review process. It's not automatically approved. And we call those service agreement amendment requests. And more information on the different requests that you can make are available in your 2024 Smart Scholar Handbook. There's an entire section on those. And if you do have more questions, again, reach out to your scholar coordinator. In terms of the awardee dashboard, do we complete all of the tasks or just the ones with the double asterisk? What I would recommend is look at your award letter and use that as your guide um, of what tasks to complete. If you have questions, reach out to your scholar coordinator. Okay, if you are completing an internship this summer with a different program that isn't SMART, um, just be sure you complete the other federally funded internship task, or if you have questions about how that works, or how can you finish out that internship before starting into phase one, or if you have any questions about the overlap of the two programs, reach out to your scholar coordinator, as those are going to be kind of program and situation specific question and answers. If I was awarded for 1 year, how long will I have to work at my sponsoring facility after graduation? 1 year. And we'll give you a phase two letter that shows your start and your end date. So you'll know exactly when your service commitment will be up. For retention, can we change jobs within the same sponsoring facility as long as they are good with my school schedule? That's going to be something you're going to have to work with your SFPOC, and then also your component liaison will need to be in the loop, but mainly handled by your SFPOC. Okay. Is there a set procedure that must be followed before charging something to our health insurance allowance? So your health insurance allowance and your miscellaneous allowance are going to be provided to you in one payment each August through direct deposit. So once it hits your account, it's yours to do with it as you wish. If I'm taking summer courses this year, will SMART be covering that? No, we will not. And the reason for that is because our funding does not technically begin until you become a phase one scholar. So on August 1st. However, if you are enrolled in summer coursework this summer, please let your scholar coordinator know so we can expect a transcript for those. What's the dress code for orientation? So on the registration page, there is a FAQ, and that is one of the questions, but it's going to be business casual, no jeans, flip-flops, sweatshirts, things like that, just professional, because you are going to be meeting with your fellow awardees. There's going to be DoD personnel there, your SF personnel. So definitely want to represent, put a good, I don't know, best foot forward. Okay, and if I fail to meet the requirements in the future, like GPA, what happens? So we do have a section on this in our handbook. It's all the way up down at the bottom. But essentially, if one of the main requirements of the program is not met, we do go through a non-compliance process. So we do have a non-compliance matrix, which shows the policy, what happened, how to comply, like how to get back into a good standing, and then also possible implications if you do not. So in terms of GPA, if you are, say, a phase one scholar, you had a rough semester, your GPA fell to a 2.95. We will give you grace. You'll receive a non-compliance notice, but per the matrix, you'll have two standard academic terms to bring your GPA back to a 3.0 or above. If unfortunately you're not able to do that within those two standard academic terms, you may be dismissed from the program. So be sure to look at the non-compliance section of your handbook, see all the different essentially infractions and how you can kind of come back to a good standing. And then also the failure to complies, because those are, um, it's, I mean, it's a serious program. So we want to make sure that you guys know that we do need you to meet the requirements for this program. If you do have questions, again, reach out to your scholar coordinator, and they'll be able to assist you. Okay, we got about 4 minutes left, so we'll see which questions we can get to here. If you do, and this was a question that just came up, but if you do end up failing a single class, will you be dismissed? I'll just have you refer to that non-compliance matrix. In that situation, you'll receive a non-compliance notice, and you will have one standard academic term to essentially retake that course for a grade. However, if you guys do have questions, again, reach out to your scholar coordinator. Let's see. I'm just trying to find one that I haven't answered yet. When can I expect the travel stipend for the in-person orientation? I think I've touched base on this. However, there's a few things that have to happen before we can provide the funding. So the first is we need you to submit your direct deposit task. We'll need to do a penny verification to your bank account, ensure that it's the correct account. Once that's been completed, and if we have your orientation travel request, the funding should be provided to you within 1 to 2 weeks after getting that approval from your scholar coordinator. Okay. And we covered site visit, funding. Yeah, so we have about 2 minutes left. In terms of recommendations, one of the biggest things I can't stress enough is your handbook. If you don't have a copy of it or you haven't downloaded a copy of it, please do so. I know that's a lot of information in there, but it's really important. A lot of the questions that we received via the FAQ, or excuse me, the Q&A, and through the registration are things that you can definitely find the answers within the handbook. And when you do ask your scholar coordinator questions, that's going to be our first stop, is looking at our policy, looking at our handbook to better answer your question. So it's extremely important. It includes all of your requirements for the program, how to stay in good standing, what happens if you drop below a GPA or you have a course issue. The information is in there, and it does give a in-depth overview of each of the phases. So it'll go through everything you need to do in phase 1, what happens in phase 2, security clearance, hiring process overviews. It's just, there's so much really good information in there. So please, 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 definitely download it, take a look at it, and we'll go from there. We did have a question that if all of the question and answers that were discussed on this call and part of the Q&A portion, if it's going to be provided to all awardees, I think there's quite a few duplicate questions in here, but we'll narrow it down and see what we can do in terms of providing you guys all those questions and answers along with the presentation and the recording. All right, so we are at time. I do want to thank you all for joining today, and a huge congratulations. I'm very excited for you on your SMART journey. And again, your scholar coordinators are here if you have any questions. So give us a follow on social media, and yeah, looking forward. All right, well, thank you, everyone. I do hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll go ahead and wrap it up.